Hi, good evening, everyone. This is dangerous in my hand. I am bad with technology, but I'll do the best I can. Um, if you think back today, for those of you who got to hear Dennis talk about stories and paths in life, listening to Tony, um, I got to tell you, growing up, I think some of you heard me say the other night how we made shields out of trash cans. I don't know if you ever heard the expression, growing up on the wrong side of the tracks. Well, I lived close to the wrong side of the tracks, and we used to walk every day to St. Mary's Grammar School, but we'd have to walk by the projects. So every day coming home as a kid, myself and my two brothers and I would always be surveying the landscape, walking to see if we were going to have to fight, if we were going to get bullied, if something was going to happen. And I was thinking back, the other night I was telling my wife that I think back at that age I started to be tuned in to nonverbal behavior. I just didn't know it at the time. And when you fast forward years later, I'm working for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and 9/11 happens. And I'm working as an auditor and an investigator for the Securities Division. And part of that job, we got to go to the State Police Academy and learn interview techniques and reading body language. 9/11 comes along, and probably like everybody in this room, felt the passion where I wanted to do something, something to contribute to help the country heal. And in that particular situation, I said, I want to join, do what I can. Homeland Security came along. So I go and I get hired by Virgin Atlantic Corporate Security. Virgin Atlantic, Richard Branson goes out, being the forward thinker that he is, goes out and hires an Israeli company to teach us passenger profiling. So now I'm learning behavior detection. I'm learning how to spot nonverbal indicators where people are hiding things, interviewing, eliciting information. I'm at Logan Airport, loving the job. And then TSA comes along. So I apply to TSA. It's Homeland Security. It's the United States. I want to do something. I want to help out after 9/11. So I get hired by the TSA, and I start working as a screener. Actually took a step back in my career, but I didn't care. And as I'm working as a screener, I start looking at the way things are being done. And I started realizing we're all focused on the object. Who's looking at the person? So I'm watching people come through the checkpoint, that I'm jumping out of my uniform saying somebody needs to talk to this person. No machinery was alarming, but some of the behavior on these people was just stood out to me. And I had supervisors and people telling me, you know what, Carl, the x-ray didn't go off, the metal detector didn't go off, what are you worried about? So I started doing some things on my own. We were doing random screening. Next thing you know, I'm catching money smugglers, drug smugglers, people on warrants, because their behavior, guess what, folks, was anomalous to everybody else coming through the line. So I decide I got to do something. So I'm saying, well, I'm one guy. In Kip Hawley's book, Permanent Emergency, I said I was a pimple on the ass of Homeland Security, to be blunt about it. So I'm going, okay. And he put that in the book. My mother said, you really didn't say that. I said, yes, I did, Mom. It's in the book. So I decide to, you talk about how things happen in life, Tony, and choices. I decide I'm going to do something. I start looking at the material that I had learned as an investigator about behavior detection. Then I decide, you know what? I'm going to call the American Psychological Association and ask them who I should be talking to that's experts in human emotion, deception detection, all that kind of stuff. So they give me 3 names, and the top of the list is Paul Ekman. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Lie to Me on Fox. It was out years ago. Paul was a pioneer on micro expressions, which I'll show you in a few minutes, and also human emotion as it relates to truthfulness and deception. So I call Paul on the phone, and I'm telling that there was a state trooper I was working with at Logan. He said, you're going to call Paul Ekman? I said, yeah, I got his number. So I call him. He goes, you're going to call him? I said, yeah. I said, what's the worst he can do? Hang up? No, and not talk to me. Well, I talked to him, and not only that, he said to me, send me what you got, give me your outline. I did. So now we're off and running, trying to work on the material that we could put together for the program. I'm working a Saturday afternoon wearing the old white TSA Good Humor ice cream uniforms that we had. And I'm walking through the airport, and I look up, and Tommy Ridge had just left Homeland Security. And I look up, and walking in front of me is Kip Hawley, the new TSA administrator. So I say to my partner that I'm working with, that's Kip Hawley. He goes, I know. What are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go up and talk to him. He said, oh, no, don't do that. I said, I'm going to go up and talk to him. What's the worst he can say to me? Leave me alone. So I went up. I tapped him on the shoulder. I remember like it was yesterday, and I said, Mr. Hawley, my name's Carl Maccario. And I said, I'd really like to talk to you about behavior detection. And he said, Carl, you don't have to sell me on behavior detection. He said, I'm a big believer in it. I said, do you have a couple of minutes? Next thing you know, an hour and a half later, we are now sitting at Dunkin' Donuts. He said to me, you got to come to headquarters. I want you to work on this. So I go to headquarters. I start building a program. In the interest of time, I end up, for the last 6.5 years, folks, flying all over the country, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, training law enforcement and TSA personnel all across the country in detecting anomalous behavior at airports. I don't like to call it suspicious behavior because it's really not. It's anomalous behavior. 9 out of every 10 people that we end up engaging, it's something that we can explain. But I can tell you, in this program, we've had people walk unabated through the security system, and we've caught through behavior detection. They didn't alarm one piece of equipment. And we've actually, the big question I always get is, have you caught a terrorist? I can't answer that question because there's referrals we made that we know have gone on for further investigation. So the program's done. It's rolled out all over the country. I start getting requests from outside interest in behavior detection. And by the way, when you learn this stuff, your family will hate you. Because nobody can get away with anything in the house. I drive my wife Linda crazy with it because I point all these things out to her. But and my kids talk to me with like things covering their face. And I got to tell you a quick story. My daughter's 21, my youngest. A couple of years ago, she was 18. She went out, stayed over a friend's house. She comes home. She's in her room. I knock on the door. Taylor, yeah, Dad, can I come in? Sure. I said, how was last night? Did you have fun with the parents home? She pulls the sheet up over her face, and she says, Mom, Dad's trying to use that behavior stuff on me. I can't even talk to my kids. So fast forward, so I'm still with TSA. I'm transitioning to, my wife and I have decided at 54 years old to go do what I love. And I love to teach. I really love to show people the value of nonverbal communication and how important it is in your professional life, your personal life, your business life, relationships, everything. It's so, so important. And in this day and age of technology, we miss it. Dennis mentioned the face-to-face back and forth. We don't see it anymore. It's not there. And you can miss so much. And I'm going to show you some real quick things of what you're missing in the short time that I have. But my passion is this. I love to see people walk away. I've seen police officers, Amanda said, you know, different professions. People leave and they go, oh my God, I can't believe, I've used video, I can't believe I was doing that. I never knew what that meant. And what messages are you sending people with your nonverbal behavior? So if I can do this, we are in luck. And begin. Nope. And backwards. Here we go. Okay, real quick, I want you to take a look at this. I'm going to play this video for you. How do I start it? All right. I'm going to play this video, and then I'm going to have them stop, and I want you to tell me what you've seen. It's a good example of
clearly, somebody in this
observation.
room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
Why, I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
But how did you know?
Madam, as any horticulturist will tell you, one does not plant petunias until May is out. Take her away.
Sorry, madam.
It's just a matter of observation. The real question is, how observant were you?
Okay, stop it, Mike. Okay. Who wants to go first? What did you see in that scene? Anybody seen it? Yes, sir. Okay.
Well, there's that, and then when they pan the camera across, she like moved, like there was like a weird movement of the face, like hiding it real quick.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Any other changes? Anybody see any of the changes that took place in this scene? I'm sorry? No, it wasn't. It was a gorilla before. But I'm going to tell you this before Mike plays this. I show this video to show people what we miss by not paying attention, and how the abundance of nonverbal communication is going on. While people are talking and they're telling you a story, there's a whole nother story going on behind their body language. And our ability to observe and see those things are key. Yes, sir. He was. He was. Now he's not. So before Mike plays this, I'll tell you, in 6 years all around across the country, 2 people have picked out the most profound change in this. The average has been about 8 or 10 things that people will come up with in the class that I do of the changes in the video. But go ahead, Mike. Take a look at this. How observant were you? Watch.
Action. Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
Different
I was
dead guy.
buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
But I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
See, now it's easy to miss something you're not looking for. So true, and I'll show you again in the next couple of slides. But look, 2 people in the entire country over 6 years picked out different, well, as they would say, different victim. It's a different dead guy, different trench coat. What are we looking at? What did everybody do here? Oh, he looked up. I got people, he looked up, looked away, no eye contact. Meanwhile, the dead guy's not even the same guy. So, and I got to tell you, the first time I saw it, I didn't see it either. So what is nonverbal communication? It's facial expressions, it's gestures, it's body movements, it's posture, it's tone of voice. You ever ask somebody a question, they say, how was your food? It was good. What? Good? What happened to your voice? Tone, intonation, when people's voice pitch goes up, you know what that is real quick? Quick lesson. It's a constriction of the vocal cords. There's an emotion going on that they're not maybe telling you the truth, because they would have said the food was fine. But you'll see that as part of nonverbal communication. So, next one, Mike. Why is it important? Well, depending on what study you want to believe, human interaction can reach the level of anywhere as high as 90%. UCLA did a study. Imagine that. 90% of human interaction can be as high as 90% of is nonverbal. So when we're on our Blackberries and we're going, yeah, oh, that's really good. You had to go, yeah, your pants are on fire. You don't see it because you're typing away. We're not paying attention. You are giving off messages when you talk to people. I'll show you a couple of quick examples in here in a couple of more videos, and one's a still picture. You'll love it. But you give off messages to people nonverbally. There's a story coming out of my mouth right now, and what's my nonverbal behavior saying to you? That's what people miss. If you don't pay attention, I have 2 rules when I teach these classes. If you're going to ask somebody a question, 1, for God's sake, let them answer, and pay attention, because you're going to miss a lot. I have a video I'm not showing here, but it's from a dashboard camera in a police cruiser, and it almost cost the police officer his life, because he says to the young kid that's in front of the car, can you put your stuff up on the hood of the vehicle? And he says, well, what's going on? He said, well, you may have a warrant. And the kid goes, a warrant? What's this? What's this nonverbal? If I said to you, they said, Carl, is that your computer? Yeah, that's mine. But he says a warrant. And then the police officer says to him, you don't have any weapons on you, do you? He says, nope. And guess where he pulls the gun out of when the police officer asks him to right out of the right pocket? Guess what the police officer didn't see? The nonverbal subconscious, I have a gun in this pocket. He ended up trying to shoot the police officer and kill him. He didn't, thankfully. But he could have cost him his life. Why? Because he's not paying attention. He's over there. Do you have any weapons on you? Nope, I don't, because I'm watching him. You don't pay attention. You're involved in a high-stakes deal, a relationship, and you're not paying attention. Ask any guy who's married. what happens when you don't pay attention to your wife, when you don't look at her, right? Okay, moving right along. Okay, here's a company that never made it, IBM. And look at, how'd you like to be doing this presentation? This guy's asleep. He's going, you do what with computers? He's burning a hole through his shirt. Not a happy group to present to. And there's no sound to that. I mentioned to you micro-expressions. There's 7 universal cross-cultural expressions of emotion that can appear on the face as quick as 1/28th of a second. You can train people from chance, 50-50, after about an hour's worth of training to be up around 60-65% in their ability to recognize these cross-cultural, subconscious expressions of emotion. Our bodies reveal in real time what we're thinking and what we're feeling. Obviously, they can be very revealing because they can contradict the story coming out of your mouth. Your body language can contradict it. Observing people's actions can bring you closer to the truth, and they're outward expressions of how we're really feeling inside. Take a look at this. This is President Obama and Michelle Obama. This is in here for training purposes. I don't care what your political beliefs are. This is at Nelson Mandela's funeral. That's the Prime Minister of Denmark, I believe. Am I right? I knew it. I knew I was going to ask you that today, and now you can verify it. Michelle Obama, President Obama. They decided to take a selfie. Look at her body language. I'm in the way. And it gets worse. So now she's glaring at him, and she's like, no, this is going to end. And she made him switch seats. She's got her back to the Prime Minister of Denmark, and he's leaning forward. That's about as I want nothing to do with you as I can posture, leaning forward in the seat. All nonverbal, no sound. And finally, I want you to take a look. Mike, can you just click on this and then stop it when I told you to? Katie Couric and Alex Rodriguez.
For the record, have you ever used steroids, human growth hormone, or any other performance-enhancing substance?
No.
Did you see that?
Have you ever been
You can
tempted
stop it, Mike.
to use any of those things?
No.
No, when he said he did the, yeah, that's called the sign of contempt. It's a micro expression of contempt. But did you see what he did? For the record, have you ever used before? No. There's the subconscious. There's a perfect example why you need to pay attention and why it's so valuable in your everyday life. Thank you, folks. I'm having a great time, and thank you for having me here.